They don't fear your looks. They don't fear your talent. They don't even fear your success. What they truly fear is your truth. Because when someone like you wakes up, when someone like you stops believing the lies, stops bowing to the noise, stops shrinking to make others comfortable, everything shifts. The world as they know it begins to crumble. You weren't meant to blend in. You were born to stand out, to shine, to remember. And now, whether they like it or not, whether you fully realize it or not, the awakening has begun. For so long, you thought something was wrong with you. You questioned why you felt different, why you couldn't connect the way others did, why surface-level conversations drained you. You asked yourself, why does it feel like I'm carrying something no one else understands? That's because you are. You were never meant to live a numb, robotic, programmed life. You were placed here with a seed of truth buried deep in your soul. And now, it's starting to grow. This world tried everything to keep you asleep. It gave you distractions, endless entertainment, false idols, hollow routines, and a system designed to make you forget who you are. It told you to chase titles, not truth. Validation, not vision. Popularity, not purpose. And for a while, you may have played along. You wore the mask. You fit into roles. You followed the rules. But the more you tried to live their version of life, the more you felt dead inside. That wasn't depression. That wasn't failure. That was your soul, knocking on the walls of the cage you were taught to live in. They've always feared souls like yours. Souls that don't just follow blindly. Souls that ask questions, seek meaning, vibrate with presence. Because one awakened person holds the power to wake up 1,000 more. You don't need a platform to be dangerous. You just need to be aware. When you remember who you are, when you see through the illusion, when you step into alignment with your higher self, your frequency alone disrupts the room. Your silence makes noise. Your truth becomes a mirror that others can't look away from. That's why they tried to keep you small. They mocked your sensitivity. They dismissed your intuition. They told you to be realistic, to be quiet, to be like them. But you were never like them. That fire inside of you, that voice that wouldn't shut up, that ache that told you there was more to life than just waking, working, and worrying. That was your calling. And now, the time has come for you to stop ignoring it. Yes, it will cost you. Awakening always does. You will lose friends. You will outgrow environments. You will become too much for people who were only ever comfortable with your lesser self. The version of you that was agreeable, silent, tame, apologetic. That version is dying. And in its place, the real you is rising. Not the polished version. Not the performative version. But the raw, divine, unfiltered soul that was chosen to be here now, in this time, on this planet, for a reason much greater than just existing. It's going to be uncomfortable. You'll feel like you're walking away from everything you've ever known. And in some ways, you are. But you're also walking towards something. Something real. Something sacred. Something powerful. You are walking into your truth. And truth, when embodied fully, terrifies the world. Because it can't be controlled. It can't be manipulated. It doesn't need permission. It just is. That's what they fear most. Not your beauty, your skills, or your success, but your refusal to participate in the illusion. Your refusal to be bought, silenced, numbed, or divided. When you operate from truth, you don't follow crowds. You move with conviction. You don't beg for acceptance. You radiate authenticity. You don't chase attention. You become a magnet for those who recognize your energy. And that is dangerous to a system built on keeping people asleep. You'll start noticing it more. The tension, the shift, the subtle resistance in rooms where you used to be welcomed. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence now exposes. You no longer play along. You don't entertain drama. You don't waste your breath on empty talk. Your spirit is louder now, and people can feel it. That quiet strength, that deep awareness, that unshakable knowing. It unsettles those still trapped in roles, and they will either be drawn to your light or repelled by it. Either way, don't dim it. You've come too far. You've unlearned too much. You've burned too many masks to go back to playing small. You're not here to fit in. You're here to reveal, to remind others what it means to be real, to live from the soul, to speak what's buried deep. You're not here to avoid being misunderstood. You're here to be a wake-up call, and that calling is already in motion. Your life, your story, your presence, it's being used. Even now, even in your confusion, even in your quiet. Because chosen ones don't need loud voices. They need loud alignment. When your life is rooted in truth, even your stillness sends shockwaves. Even your peace becomes radical. Because in a world addicted to noise, a calm soul is revolutionary. They try to shame your truth, but now they will witness its power. They try to silence your knowing, but now they will feel your vibration. They tried to bury you, but they didn't know. You were seeded, not silenced. And now that seed is breaking through. Let them fear it, because that fear is confirmation. Confirmation that your awakening is real, that your light is spreading, that your existence alone is challenging the matrix. You're not here to fight the old. You're here to birth the new. A new way of being, a new way of living, a new way of loving. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you divine. And the most powerful part, you don't even have to try. You just have to be. You just have to be. And that's what they can't control. They could control your image when you were asleep. They could predict your moves when you lived in fear. They could label you, manipulate you, distract you, because you didn't know who you were. But now, you're starting to remember. You're remembering that you were never meant to play by their rules. That your power doesn't come from your bank account, your degree, your followers, or your job title. It comes from the alignment between your soul and your truth. The moment you choose truth over conformity, intuition over programming, you shift timelines. You exit their system. You reclaim your reality. And that's what's happening now. You're not going crazy. You're waking up. The things that used to entertain you don't hit the same anymore. The people you used to vibe with now feel foreign. You walk into rooms and feel what isn't being said. You speak and the air changes. Your very existence is creating tension, not because you're wrong, but because you're real. When your energy rises, the truth in you starts shining a light on everything around you. And that light will expose what's fake, what's unhealed, what's out of alignment. That's why some people ghosted you. That's why old friends drifted. That's why your presence suddenly became too much for those who once claimed to love you. They weren't reacting to you. They were reacting to your vibration. Because when you rise, everything not meant for your next level falls away. And it hurts. It really does. To be the one who sees too deeply, feels too much, walks too alone. But you weren't called to be understood. You were called to be the signal, the pulse, the reminder. You were called to plant seeds with your words, your silence, your choices. You were called to live in truth so boldly that others would question their lies. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were sent here to interrupt patterns. This isn't just spiritual talk, it's spiritual reality. When you activate, you start seeing the symbols, the signs, the synchronicities. You hear the inner guidance. You feel time shifting. You become deeply aware that nothing is random. And that awareness makes you powerful, because most of the world is still asleep. They don't question what they're fed. They live for approval. They follow trends like oxygen, and they look at people like you and think, why are they different? But they don't realize it's not something you're doing. It's who you are. You didn't force this awakening. It found you. It chose you because your soul was ready, because your lineage needed healing, because your ancestors whispered your name through generations, waiting for someone brave enough to break the cycle. And now, here you are, walking away from what's safe, questioning what's normal, healing what was handed to you, choosing presence over performance, truth over trends, God over ego. Do you know how rare that is? It's why you're being washed by both darkness and light. Because those in darkness want you distracted, but those in the light are rooting for you. Because every time you rise, you give others permission to rise too. Your awakening sends ripples. Your courage ignites others. Your frequency lifts the planet. You're not just healing yourself, you're healing timelines. But don't get it twisted. Awakening isn't a straight line. Some days you'll feel limitless. Other days you'll feel lost. You'll question everything. You'll want to go back to sleep, to comfort, to how things used to be. That's normal. That's the ego resisting the soul. But don't give in. Don't numb yourself back into the illusion. Because even when it hurts, you're still moving forward. Even when you're tired, you're still elevating. Every breakdown is sacred. Every tear is holy. Every surrender is strength.